All right, so let's look at 2x minus 5y equals 10. And just as a refresher, let's see if we can find the intercepts for this guy. Let's find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Remember, the intercepts are points. That means they are ordered pairs, and you must give them as such. What do you know about every x-intercept? You know that the y value is 0. What do you know about every y-intercept? The x value is 0. So if we start with that, and we just kind of, we just finish the rest of this. If we know that y is 0, we just cover up that y, because remember, negative 5 times 0 is 0. If I cover that up, what does that mean that x equals? If 2x is 10, then x is 5.
So you just put, it would, okay, it always equals 0. In this case, we're finding.
Anytime we're finding the x-intercept, y is 0, always and forever. Anytime we're finding the y-intercept, x is 0.
But isn't 2 times 0 is 0?
Wait, are you talking about the x-intercept?
Yeah.
The x-intercept, I'm saying that x is 5. So 2 times 5 is 10, minus 5 times 0 is 0. 10 minus 0 is 10.
Why did you just pull a 5 out of wherever, or did you
When y is 0, 5 times 0 is 0. This guy goes away, and I see that 2x equals 10. To solve that for x, I divide by 2.
Okay.
Likewise, when I look at the y-intercept, the y-intercept says that x is 0. So if x is 0, this guy is gone. I see negative 5y equals 10, which means that y equals what?
Negative 2.
Y equals negative 2. How many points does it take to uniquely determine a line? 2. Plot these points correctly. So the x-intercept is 5, 0, so that's 5 on the x-axis. For the y-intercept, it's 0, negative 2, so that's negative 2 on the y-axis. Make sure that you do plot them on the correct axes and in the right spot. Now, as we talked about yesterday, we could find the slope here so we can extrapolate and get more points. What's the rise over run here? What are you seeing as I go from the y-intercept to the x-intercept? What do you see here? You could say that, but remember, we want to look at the slope as being rise over run. So from this point to this point, what's my rise?
2.
Up 2, so that's positive 2. What's my run as I go to the right?
5.
5. So positive 2 over positive 5 is 2/5. Do you all agree? Now, what if you went the other way, though? If you went to the left and then you went down, well, that means... Actually, I don't want to say left and then down because that's really kind of backwards from what we're doing. Your rise, what's your rise from here to here? How far down did I go? What's your rise? Negative 2. What's your run? Left 5, so that's negative 5. What's negative over negative?
Positive.
That's still a positive 2/5. It doesn't matter how you look at this. The slope is going to be positive 2/5. Now, if I use that slope, I can find other points on here. Okay. If I try to go up 2 over 5, I'm going to be off somewhere right about there. So I reverse this and I go to the left. So I'm going to go down 2 over 5, down 2 over 5, down 2 over 5, and end up a little bit off. Yes, Mariah?
So when you give us an example like this, 2x minus 5y, I just went ahead and solved for y, and that way it gave me.
You could go ahead and solve for y.
Half of the y-intercept.
It'll give you the slope. It'll give you the y-intercept. It doesn't tell you the x-intercept.
But then you would just go back and plug in the 0 for the y, and it would.
Right, but
x.
to me that sounds like a lot of work when I'm not even asking for the slope. I mean, you can do that, but you're getting more information than is absolutely necessary, because if I get my x and y intercepts and I plot those guys,
So
I can use this as a pattern and just repeat this to get
if you
other
were
points.
to be asking for the slope as well, would that be the best?
If I
way
asked
to
you for the
find that?
slope, then you need to solve for y, or you could get it from the picture. But most of the time I'm going to ask you to do one of two things. I'm either going to ask you to give me the intercepts in the graph, or I'm going to ask for the slope, the y-intercept in the graph. Okay. So we kind of talked about this last time as well. Between the points, if you can find the midpoint, it makes graphing a lot easier. So the rise here was 2. What's half of 2? 1. The run was 5. What's half of 5? 2.5. So this is the midway point, going up 1 over 2.5, up 1 over 2.5, up 1 over 2.5, and so on. And by doing that, you can get a lot of extra points, so it makes graphing of that line a lot easier. Okay. Go to my handy dandy ruler. All right. I feel like it'd be a lot easier if I just would freehand this, but I'm not. There we go. Now remember, whenever we graph, we have to go from edge to edge, and you want to make sure that you do put your arrows on the ends, because if you don't, you're wrong, and then we end up getting mad at the teacher for not listening. So I want to go back to something that you said, Mariah. You said you took this guy and you solved it for y, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, what if I did that? Let me take 2x minus 5y equals 10 and solve this for y. What's the first thing you would do to get y by itself?
Subtract 2x.
I'm going to move the 2x over. If you guys want to do minus 2x and minus 2x on both sides, you can. But I hope that eventually you can see that when you move this to the other side, it becomes a negative 2x. Okay?
So it wouldn't.
And then how do I finish getting y by itself?
Negative 5.
Divide by negative 5. Now I want to make sure that we divide each term by negative 5. Okay? So it gives me a positive y equals what? What does this become for the coefficient of x?
2 over 5x.
Positive 2/5 x, then what?
Negative 2.
Minus 2. You see this 2/5 that shows up right here as the coefficient of x is the same 2/5 that we got when we did the slope, right? And you see the minus 2 that's hanging out right here is the same as the minus 2 that you see here in the y-intercept. Okay? So that's the connection we want to make with this being the being the slope-intercept form. Okay? Because the slope and intercept is what you get from this form. Did we talk about this the other day? Maybe kind of, not sure. Probably not.
No, we didn't.
Well, the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. When you have your equation solved for y, when your equation is solved for y, the coefficient of x is your slope. Of course, we like to think of slope as rise over run. And then this b gives you the y-intercept, because the y-intercept is 0, comma b. That's what we get from the slope-intercept form. You guys okay with that? So just so we can make sure that what I have here does match up with the real stuff, here it is. See that these graphs are identical. We have all the same points. And again, if you're not sure if something matches up, you can always take.
Mr. Frank?
Yeah.
You said m represents the slope, or that's better known as the coefficient?
It's the coefficient of x when you have it solved for y.
Thank you.
So that slope-intercept form slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Okay. Again, solve for y. The slope is the coefficient. It's not x itself. It's the coefficient of x. So this is your slope. And again, we like to think of this as rise over run. And that yields our y-intercept. So with the order pair 0, b. I was trying to say before with this, we picked off the x and the y intercepts, right? We also picked out this other point that was over here, -5, -4. -5, -4 should work in the original equation, right? That's what we were showing yesterday. If we try these extra points that we were able to clearly identify, check it against the original guide. So let's see, the original equation was 2x minus 5y equals 10. So I say that if I were to do 2 times x, which is -5, minus 5 times the y of -4, this should equal 10. And when you do the work, you get -10 plus 20, which does equal 10. Any point that you can identify on your line is supposed to be a solution, right? So we should be able to check that against the original equation that was up here, 2x minus 5y equals 10. If your order pair doesn't check out, you either graphed it wrong or you didn't substitute it into the equation correctly. You guys okay with that?
And you can do that with any point that...
Any point on any line that you graph. You want to make sure that it's a clear point, because when we got the -5, -4, that was this guy right here. We found him by using the slope going down and over. So it wasn't like, I think it's that. We knew it was that. We put the point there. Okay. Now, in addition to the slope-intercept form, is something called the standard form. And here's what the standard form says, and this is what it looks like. It says, or it looks like this, it's ax plus by equals c. Okay? All of your variables are on one side and your constant is on the other side. Okay? And what we know about this guy is that those coefficients in the constant, a, b, and c, these guys are real numbers. A and B are not both 0. Okay? A and B are not both 0. Because if A and B, the coefficients for x and y, if they're both 0, then you'd have 0 plus 0, which is 0. You got nothing. That's no good. That's no fun. You can't graph anything like that. Now, for those of you that like formulas, that really like formulas, okay, if you've got something that's in standard form, here's how you can get key information from this. Your slope can be found by doing -a over b. If you just take these coefficients, a and b, divide a by b and put a negative in front, that's your slope. Trust me, it is. And if you don't believe me, try it out. We've done several examples where we have found the slope. Check it against the form that's the standard form and see if what I said is true. Your x-intercept can be found by taking c, dividing it by a, and of course the y-coordinate is 0. And you can see that because you know for every x-intercept the y is 0, right? If y is 0, I would cover this up. I see ax equals c. How do you get x by itself? Divide by a, and you would have c over a, right? So then what do you think you would have, or what the y-intercept would look like? What do you know about the y-intercept? X is 0. Now if x is 0, what would be the value for y if x is 0? Exactly right, c divided by b. Do you need to memorize this stuff here? No. But if you like, because I've worked with students before where they don't care so much about the construction of things, they have all these formulas that they're ready to spew out and plug numbers into. So if that's you, this is perfect for you. You just plug these numbers in and you get your answers. For me, I'm the kind of person who's going to take this guy right here and understand that for the x-intercept, y is 0, and for the y-intercept, x is 0. So when I do that, I know what I'm doing and I don't need a formula. I can look and say, all right, if x is 0, y is -2. I get my answer.